Verse of the day.
Music intro.
How weird was that? My question for you today is, how hungry are your eyes, and what are you allowing in through your eyes, through your ears? Because what we receive in tends to be in direct correlation to what we believe in. And so I would submit to you, what we find ourselves believing will translate into our being. And this will determine what pours out of us: life or death, healing or disease, revelation or devastation. What will you allow in? What will you be edified on? And what will you make of this bread that you take in? You have a choice, and it is either or. You cannot feed on the bread of life that comes from God and also on the decay of this world. For that which decays will do so absolutely. You cannot have it both ways. Your eternity is determined by the choice that you make, which leads us to our verse of the day. It comes out of Luke 16:13, and it says, "No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and Mammon." There are two aspects of this verse that I want to highlight, and I'm going to start with the end and work my way backwards. Firstly, at the end of the verse, it says, "You cannot serve God and Mammon." Well, from here, the obvious question would be, what exactly is Mammon? Well, simply put, this is idolatry. Idolatry in the sense that you would deify wealth and material gain. Really, this is any practice of pursuing what this world has to offer before pursuing what God has to offer. This is to put first worldly gain before relationship with the Father, when in reality and the truth, pursuit and gain should flow from a place with relationship with God, who transforms the desires of our heart. The second portion I want to highlight in this verse is the word hate. When we translate it from Greek, we get the word miso. And in this context, miso is not referring to outright hatred, but instead is in reference to love something less in comparison. Now, given the parables Christ told about the difficulty the rich man would have getting into heaven, it would seem apparent that this is a concept that he well understood. You see, Jesus and his people lived in a time that was ruled by the oppression of the Roman Empire. The Jewish people were being taxed in a way that not only left them in need, but also left them actually paying their oppressors to continue to oppress them. The Roman Empire and their focus on power and material conquest and gain resulted in a people that were lacking, in need, lost, divided, and confused, which only aided in the Pharisees falling short of their interpretation of who the Messiah would be and why he would come. The Pharisees' focus was on a Messiah that would free them from their current state of physical oppression, instead of the truth that the Messiah would come to set them free from spiritual oppression and the bondage of sin that separates us from having relationship with the Father. The Pharisees saw only the worldly and material aspect of their current circumstance instead of the spiritual bondage they were suffering from. And though Christ would stand right in front of their eyes, speaking directly to their ears, still they would not accept that he was who had come to open the eyes of the blind for anyone who had ears to hear. And this was because the lust for gain is spiritual disease. When we allow our current circumstance to dictate who we are and how we are, we then become the very thing that we tend to despise. The lack that is created from that which takes from us becomes us if we are not so inclined to focus our gaze on the true identity of who and what we are as the created image of God. We will fall short if our focus is not firmly and solely set on the pursuit of relationship with the Father through Christ. Jesus expressed the importance of this focus in Matthew 6:22 through 23, saying, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore that light in thee is darkness, how great is that darkness?" So, what it is that you allow in, what you allow yourself to be filled with, will bring to you, and so will be born through you, either the light or the darkness. It brings life or it brings death. And since it is from the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks, what you allow yourself to be filled with will serve as evidence of what pours out of you. This is a measure of your relationship with God, or the lacking thereof. evidenced by the fruit of your lips and the consequence of your actions. And if your actions and the words that you speak are not in alignment with the Word, or what the Word has to say about the fruit of the Spirit and how that should look in your life as a believer, then what it is that you are allowing in likely is disease. And in turn, what you then pour out from you is the very same. Make no mistake about it, your eternity hangs in the balance. But not only your eternity, but also those you affect with your words and your actions. Jesus clearly states, you are either for or you are against. You either gather or you are scattering. Professing the mantle of Christianity is to say that you are a representation of this thing that you claim, this thing being Christ. And as Christians, we are called to look like Him. But if we profess this and go on to look like the world, walking as they walk, talking as they talk, we will only serve to scatter those that might come to Christ. We are called to be set apart, no longer to look like this world. The light of the world has called us the light of the world to so shine into the darkness, not to resemble it. But you don't have to take my word for it. We can take the word of Paul, a follower and believer of Christ who suffered more hardship than any one of us could imagine. Romans 12:2 says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. This renewal looks like the intentional pursuit of God, and it looks like making an actual effort to be like Christ, to have relationship with God, to draw close to Him so that He would draw close to you, as it says in the book of James. So pay attention to this, right? The Creator of all of creation created you in His image. And as His image, He has imbued you and within you the ability of creation and the free will to do so, to create an atmosphere of change and intentionality in pursuit of Him and what He has always intended you to be, which is that light and that love perfected. This is the truth of your identity as His child and as His created image, but you have to make that choice and you have to make that effort toward Him. And so I encourage you to actually take up that mantle that you profess and become the light that He's called you to be. So I hope this has been encouraging and edifying, and I hope you guys have a blessed one.